Facebook? You don't have the official Anet Facebook? Are you logged into Facebook? can you monitor the chat room and just see if anybody? Oh, you can see it. Oh, okay. Can you type for me? All right, guys. So for everybody who is watching, here's what I'm going to do. Oh, you don't have to reply, just tell me what you're thinking.
Okay.
Get back. And then let's have somebody else say. All right, my wife is going to tell me if anybody's chatting on YouTube, so I apologize. I'm going to get her to tell me what you're chatting, and then, or if you have any questions, and then I'll reply. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I just heated up the extruder so that I can pull out the filament. Some people have a problem when they're changing the filament. I'm going to try to, I don't know, let me look here and see if the video is okay, because I want to make sure that you can see everything. Yeah. Move it closer a little bit. So what I do is I heat my temperature up to 205. I regularly print. This is the, what filament do we have? We have the, yeah, we usually print with the cheap inland filament. And it gets us by, but I noticed that when I try to change the color of the filament, when I try to change the filament, I usually print at 190 with the filament from inland. But then I noticed that when I change the filament, if I don't raise the temperature to 205, I can't change the filament. So I heated the temperature up to 205, and I'm just going to push down. I printed. This is one of the. Let me show you what upgrades I have so far on this, just so you have an idea, and then I'll go over what I'm going to change. So right here I have the fan that most people will print. It's I guess the half moon fan, or it attaches. You actually have to pull this off and attach it to your fan here, and then this is the extension. This replaces the nozzle, the fan nozzle that came with it. Works a little better. It puts air right on the nozzle where it needs to be, cools it down quickly. So this was an upgrade. I also put these braces here. This is another upgrade. This stabilizes the frame so that you don't get wobbling. So that was another upgrade. As you can see here, there's a belt tensioner that I printed. And this works pretty good. This is to tighten this belt, because if you have this too loose, for everybody who's new, if you're getting rings, like if you're seeing, I'll give you an example of why I'm doing this upgrade. Give me a second, I'm going to grab some parts.
Bill said it looks good.
What's that?
Bill said it looks good.
Okay, when I first got the printer, I was getting really, really good prints. And then I started to experience this problem here. Let's see if I can see. Yeah, I can't get it to focus, but
Is that a fiberglass reinforced belt?
it is. If you look here, you can see that there's a lot of lines. Which forced me to do some of the upgrades that you're going to see today. So I did try some of these upgrades to try to eliminate this problem. I haven't eliminated the problem yet. Ironically, when I bought this printer, I didn't have this problem. I had it sitting on my table in my kitchen when I built it, and then moved it to its final resting spot. And then when I moved it to the final resting spot, then I noticed these lines showing up. So I started doing upgrades, and these are the type of upgrades that I've done so far, but I'll show you what I'm going to upgrade now. So that's the reason why I'm doing the upgrades. These are fiber enforced belts, reinforced belts. However, I am switching these out to different belts, and I'm also going to switch out the teeth in the back, and I'll show you exactly what I'm switching out. But so I upgraded those. I also put a belt tensioner here, and this works pretty good. So you turn this knob, and it loosens and tightens. What's that?
I was like, yeah, move the camera.
Okay, so it loosens and tightens the belt. And if you get these belts, if these belts are too loose, you're going to get a wobble in the bed and the frame and the extruder. So it's just going to result in a lot of lines in your prints. If you get these too tight, then it's going to put too much stress, and then you may end up getting the same thing. It's very hard to try to get this right on the first try when you're building this printer, because you're doing this by hand. So it's a nice addition to have a belt tensioner on the printer, and that's what this upgrade is. And then this brace here is to eliminate this from moving back and forth, because during your printing, these will move. So I tried to brace this. You want to try to eliminate all of the movement as possible. So that's another upgrade. And as you can see, now this one is the one that intimidates a lot of people because they're permanently modifying the printer. I do recommend it, which is this mod here. So what we ended up doing, and I have an identical twin brother who's also watching this live feed. He did these upgrades already, so he's going to jump in every once in a while and try to guide me, because I know I'm going to end up jacking this up. But this upgrade right here, these are the original screws that came with this hotbed. However, this had one of those what do they call it? The Y nuts, but the ones that you rotate here. And this section down here, this H bracket, which, by the way, I'll have to tell you when I take this off, this was in the instructions to reverse this, which is wrong. But this H bracket here was threaded. So when you screwed this down, you were screwing through this, and then you were tightening it up with the nut. The problem with that is that it required a screwdriver. You had to turn the screwdriver this way and then get it to where you need it to be, and then tighten it up. And then you had to rotate around the bed in order to level your bed. I haven't installed an auto leveler yet. I'm going to hold off on that, because with this addition, I have drilled through which is intimidating, but I drilled through the H bracket. I think they call it the H bracket. I drilled through this so that when the screw goes down through the H bracket, it has play. It doesn't actually tighten around the H bracket. So without it catching, it just freely flows up and down. So with this right here, with this printed piece here, I can tighten and loosen and not have to worry about the screwdriver or screwing this down. So this makes leveling your bed quite easy. It still takes a little bit of time for people that use the auto levelers. I'm not bashing them. I mean, I want to try it eventually, but when I do the auto leveler, means that I'm going to have to upgrade the firmware, and right now I just want to get the printer so that I'm happy with the prints, and then I'll worry about the firmware another time. So this is another upgrade. If we move over here, by the way, anybody who's buying this printer for the first time, you'll see that everybody will recommend that this is not the stock power supply. I upgraded the power supply from the stock power supply. I think this is the 30 amp power supply, if I'm not mistaken. But really, when you're working on an A-net, it is highly recommended that you upgrade the power supply. So this has been upgraded also, and then another modification that's been made on this printer. If I spin this around, and I apologize, I got it plugged in, so I got to be careful, is I have the addition of a MOSFET located here on this other side here. So this bracket has been printed so that it holds the MOSFET down here. And the MOSFET is to regulate or pull some of the voltage from the hotbed, because as you're printing, especially, well, PLA, you're okay. I still would do the MOSFET upgrade, but when you're printing something like ABS and you have to raise this temperature of this hotbed, you're pulling a lot of juice from that power supply. So if you can find a way to reroute some of that juice, this MOSFET kind of helps out with pulling some of that juice away from the motherboard, because you'll notice that a lot of people have a problem with the motherboard catching fire or burning out. So these are not the same wires that came with the printer. I upgraded the gauge of the wire so that it was a higher gauge wire, so that I wouldn't have to worry about the printer catching fire. So that was an additional upgrade. Here's another upgrade for...
Change the wire, change the wiring. Bill said change the wiring.
I did. This is another upgrade here where, remind him that he's on the delay. Where if you're pushing down, and you'll see me about to change this filament, if you're pressing down, this makes life a lot easier. It doesn't hurt your thumb. Simple upgrade, small print, but well worth it. And then if we look at the top here, I have a filament holder, which is actually, this filament holder I'm pretty happy with. As you can see, it actually holds some bolts, some bearings, skateboard bearings, so that this flows really, really nice. It's real easy to turn. So this is not the stock threaded rod that came with the filament holder. This is another one that I bought, but this one flows real easy, so I'm happy with this. Although some people will debate whether this puts actual stress on the frame and makes the top of the frame wobble. I haven't had that experience yet, but if I do have that experience, I will take it off. Yeah, one other thing. Thank you, bro. One other thing is the back of the heat bed. If we look back here, and it's plugged in, so give me a second here. Let me untwist myself here. How am I going to do this? Let me twist it this way. If we go back here, you will see the back of the heat bed is actually wired. Some people will solder their wires directly onto the heat bed. However, I didn't want to make too many permanent modifications to the printer. So as you can see here, this was how we remedied the heat bed situation. Both of these, all these wires can be pulled off, but the wires have been upgraded, and that housing that came with it is not regulated for the amount of heat that the wire and the hotbed will generate, which that clip that housed all these wires tend to also catch fire or burn. So this was to eliminate that issue on this printer also. So highly recommend this upgrade also. You're going to find that when you get the ANET, if you're brand new to the ANET, and you're probably, some of you probably are brand new to the ANET because you're watching this, and this is going to be a long video, so you may want to grab some coffee, something to drink, if you're into alcohol. But this is going to be a very long video. But if you're new to the ANET, if you're just building your ANET, don't be surprised if you have to do a few upgrades here and there. I've had my ANET for, sweetie, how long have we had our ANET?
I'm gonna say
6 months, maybe?
Yeah.
4 months, 6 months. And I don't think there has been a week where I haven't messed around with an upgrade or two. So don't be afraid to tinker. But I highly recommend it. If you're not good with electricity, you might want to get somebody to help you with soldering and so on, because you don't really want to screw that up. All right. So is there any questions on that? All right. So we're going to start the upgrade. The first thing I need to do is I need to kill this filament. I need to get rid of it. I really should have taken it off. Taken off this filament before I started, because now I got to wait for this to cool down. But while it's cooling down, I'll let you know what upgrades I'm doing. So I heated the temperature to 206 or 205. Now, one of the problems that I'm having with this printer is when I start printing, I usually print with the bed at 60 degrees. And I usually print with the extruder or the nozzle at 190 for the nozzle. However, when I start printing, my temperature fluctuates now. It dips down to, and stabilizes, it dips and stabilizes to about 180, even though I have it set to 190. Now, I also connect this printer to Octoprint, and Octoprint will keep an eye on the temperature for you, so that you can see overall time, how in a time lapse how stable your temperature is. And I can say as soon as I start printing, I get to layer maybe 5 or 6, and then the temperature drops. Two things I think may be happening here. Either one, this fan housing that I put down here to blow the air closer to the nozzle may be doing too much of a good job. And I have read that some people, when they print this, have to cut their airflow or the fan down to 50%. I may try that. However, I think my issue is that there's a thermistor. And when I get this apart, I'm going to show you for people that don't know what the thermistor is. But there's think about it, a thermometer. But there's a thermistor that goes inside the heat block. And I'm touching this while it's hot, by the way. So there's a thermistor that goes inside the heat block, fed around these wires, and then goes into your control board to tell the printer how hot your temperature is. If that thermistor happens to come out, you'll get a temperature or a heat runaway problem, which means that the motherboard or the printer does not know exactly how hot your extruder is, and it just keeps raising the temperature to try to get it at the correct spot. I believe my thermistor may not be seated properly. So that's another thing that I'm going to check out when I take this apart, is I'm going to make sure that the thermistor is also properly installed. But there's quite a few upgrades. I expect that all this is going to take about 4 or 5 hours. But here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is kill the filament out of here. So in order to do this properly, for me, other people are successful other ways. Other people have made modifications where this is the fan, and the housing, the heat sink for this is actually held on by a magnet, and all you do is you flip it up on this little bracket that's made, and it flips up, and then it gives you access to the hole, because this filament has to go into a little hole that's about the same diameter as the filament, 1.75. I think it's a little bit closer to 1.8. You throw it in there, and then it catches and started extruding. So some people print a piece for this, but the problem with it is I think you have to eliminate the heat sink, which is probably not a good idea. So for me to be successful, raise the temperature to 205, and what I do is I press down on the knob, which is how you should change your filament. Press down on the knob, push down until you start to get some flow, and you'll see, I don't know if you can see that it's flowing out, and then you pull up firmly, and you'll notice that the filament did come out. So that's really what you want. You want that as clean as possible. So to me, that's successful. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. So that's where I'm going to stand now. I'm going to go ahead and you can't see this, but I will. Here we go. Sorry, don't mean to get you sick here. Hold on. I think you're back. I went to move the phone, and there we go. All right, I think I'm still live. Am I still live?
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to, now typically what I would do is I would tell the printer to cool down, which I'm going to do, but at this point I'm just going to unplug it, because I really don't need this on at this point. So I'm going to just unplug the printer. That'll cool down the extruder, and then that'll let me continue on. I'm going to remove the filament holder at this point, and then move on to my upgrades. I'm going to show you what I'm going to be upgrading. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, so I should be able to pop this right off.
There's 3 people watching.
All right, for everybody who actually has a Anet and have done these upgrades, I apologize. I don't mean to bore you. This video is actually for people that have not done the upgrades or are new with the Anet printer. If you're a member of the Facebook page where I posted this video that I was going live on Facebook, if you're a member of the Facebook page, I noticed that anytime the topic comes up of upgrading, it does get a lot of hits. You know, a lot of people ask a lot of questions, and there are a lot of people on that Facebook page very, very helpful. Matter of fact, when I first got the ANET, it was the only source that I used in order to learn how to use the ANET properly. That Facebook page is great. So if you're a member of that Facebook page, you're logging in, you're watching me, I appreciate you joining me. But this is really for those people that ask a lot of questions about upgrades and so on. So don't be afraid. I have my wife keeping an eye on the chat. Don't be afraid to throw out a question. I'm probably going to, 1, break the printer, 2, electrocute myself, or 3, stop the video by accident. And then I'll have to start it. So if you see the video end, look for it to go back live again because it was me being a stew nut. While I'm letting this cool down, I'm going to show you what upgrades I'm going to do today, which involves me pretty much disassembling the hotbed, the frame, and the flat rods here, taking this whole portion apart because I need access to the bearings. So here are the upgrades that I'm going to do today. Here are the IGUS bearings. I believe they're called EGUS or IGUS, but let me see if I can get you there. See, now these IGUS bearings, they're going to do 2 things. And there's a debate on these IGUS bearings. If you're thinking that you should do all these upgrades, I recommend that you do research first before you do the upgrades. I did a lot of research. When I flip this bed, you're going to see that there's bearings that go against these flat rods here. When I flip the bed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart those bearings and I'm going to replace them with these IGUS bearings. And that will, if you can hear it, try to get it to that. It'll be very quiet. What you're hearing there is the actual ball bearings inside the bearing itself rubbing against the metal rod. So the IGUS bearings help secure the bed a little bit. Debatable, but people have said that they got smoother prints and it quiets the printer down quite a bit. So the printer, I put grease on this. Hopefully I didn't over grease it, but once I did that, the printer got really, really quiet. So I'm not dissatisfied with the sound of the printer. My printer is doing really well, but I hear these make a huge difference. So today's upgrade, I'm going to replace all 4 bearings that are down here, and I'm replacing the bearings that are in the back of the housing unit for the extruder. So this housing here, I'm replacing the bearings also. So this is the first upgrade here. And then another upgrade will be, and I got a new fan. I don't need this. This is another upgrade that I made. This fan is not the original stock fan. It's a third-party fan. It's a quieter fan. I didn't buy this fan because it was quieter. I brought this fan because I had a nozzle clog, and I went to unclog the nozzle. And for everybody who has an ANET, they're probably going to guess what I'm about to say next. I shoved the Allen wrench into the blades of the fan and broke half the blades off. I did print a replacement, but it was only temporary, so I replaced this fan from the stock fan to another fan. I'm going to assume that I'm going to do it again. So I got another fan just in case I do that same exact thing, because it will happen. All right, so I'm going to replace the belts with new belts, even though these are new belts that I put on. I want to make sure, really, when you are looking at the belt, it's the amount of teeth. And Bill, if you're watching, if you can holler out to Karen how many teeth this is, I believe, I want to say 25. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace, here we go, let me do this here. I'm going to replace 16. These are 16. So these are 16 teeth here. So I'm going to replace these, which is the gear that the belt lays on the motor. Sorry, let me, there we go. So this actually sits on the motor. I'm replacing both of these along with 16 teeth belt. Because I did replace the belt that is on here, the ANET. These are fiber. These have fiber in them, so they're a little bit stronger. I did replace the belts that are on here already. However, when I did that, I wasn't sure if the teeth married the actual belt itself. So I figured, you know what, while I'm at it, I'm going to replace that belt with new belts. And then I'm going to replace these down here, these plastic. Bill, help me out. What are these right here? You have threaded rods on both sides of the Anet A8. And the threaded rods seed inside this here. And if you'll,
Couplers.
yeah, the couplers. Thank you. The couplers. And if you'll notice, these couplers have little grooves in them, and that's so that they can actually move. And this is also something that's debated on the Facebook forum. You're going to see me, when we put the couplers on, you're going to see me put it together a little bit differently than the video has you put it together when they first start, have you building up the Anet. And it's going to look more like the way this one is positioned. I'm going to try to get a good shot of it. But the way this is positioned, you can see that it's not dropped all the way down into the motor. And this threaded rod doesn't go all the way down against the bottom of the housing. What it does is it floats. And there's a gap in the middle of the threaded rod and the motor. And I'm going to try to keep that gap so that this has play in it. And then hopefully with the metal ones, it gives me also some improvement than the plastic ones, because over time I'm not really sure if a part of my problem with the prints not getting as good as quality as I had it at the beginning when I got the print. I'm thinking that maybe over time this is starting to give some play, even though they seem to be tight. I'm just going to eliminate it for a couple bucks. You know, why not eliminate as much as possible? I can tell you the biggest issue, the one thing that has me worried about this upgrade out of everything, and some of you's experienced this, and I was an idiot when I built my Anet also, is these rods right here. In the video, they will have to have you take a hammer and hammer in these rods if they don't slip in this housing properly, and mine did not. So I hammered both of these rods all the way in. So it's going to be a nightmare trying to get these rods out to try to replace this bearing, because here's my last upgrade. And these are the bearings that will go to the left and right of the smooth rods on the Z-axis, the Z rods. Now, this again is debatable. Some people will say you don't need to replace these, and I agree. You may not need to replace these. It is recommended that you don't replace them with IGUS bearings, and I agree with that. If you think about the movement of your 3D printer, most of the movement is done on the bed. It's always going back and forth and left and right. You're only really using these bearings here when the printer is raising in order to print the next the next layer. So these bearings don't really get used that much. So I don't think these bearings are really worn out. The reason I'm replacing this is because I greased these rods at one point, and I don't know if grease got into this bearing to the point where it's gunked up and it's causing my prints to be a little bit skewed. So I'm going to replace these also. So there's a lot of changes that need to happen on this printer. Some of these are recommended. And again, as I take apart the printer, I will point out all those that are recommended. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the bearings that are on this hotbed. So I'm going to go ahead and move this and make sure that you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit, forward a little bit. And then I'm going to remove the hotbed. Now you'll be able to see how easy it is to now take apart your hotbed. Typically this would require a screwdriver. Much easier to do it this way. I'll also show you what else we printed. Now this right here, if you can see, this is a printed part. These are found on Thingiverse. Just like little knobs for you to adjust your hotbed with, so that when you're leveling your hotbed, this makes life a lot easier. So those were knobs that were printed. And then if I keep going here, let me do it the right way now. This went off. and then I'll show you, as soon as I take these off, I'll show you how the mod works. It's an easy mod. It's so damn intimidating when you're taking a drill to your ANET. I can tell you that I debated doing it for a good week, whether I really wanted to do this mod or not. But I can tell you that after I did it, I haven't looked back. I can tell you some of the complications that I ran into when I did this mod, and some people may not even have thought about it as much. And I can tell you that my twin brother, who also did a live stream doing these upgrades, my twin brother also experienced the same problem. But I hope you can see down here. I apologize if you can't see, but I'm going to lift this bed up, straight up, and these springs are going to fall off. Now, on the original stock ANET, you would not be able to lift this bed completely off of the H bracket. You wouldn't be able to do it because these are threaded. The bottom H plate is threaded where the screw would actually seat into the H plate, or the I plate, or I think it's an H. So that you have to take a screwdriver and screw it down and then bolt it at the bottom. But as you can see, I can move this freely. It's going to hurt your ears a little bit, the grinding, but I can move this up and down freely. And the reason for that is I'm going to slide this off, and I'm going to flip these around and move this out of the way. Let me make sure this is cool. Okay, we're good there. Yeah, wing nuts. Yes, the wing nuts are at the bottom. And the wing nuts actually went down here. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank today. It's been a long week. But so these have been drilled down. So this H bracket right here, these holes have been drilled out so that the screws just fall straight through the hole. And then that way, when you screw this part down, you have play here. So now here's the mistakes that I made with this mod. This is just my mistake. I don't know if everybody experienced.
3mm drill bit.
3mm. Thank you. It was a 3mm drill bit. My brother's on the live stream, and we did this mod together. So it's a 3mm drill bit that we used to freely to make the hole enough where the screw freely fell in. I'm going to do a close up of how these look, because this is a little bit different. We also 3D printed these caps so that the spring sits flush against the bracket, the H bracket, and the hotbed. Now, one of the mistakes that I made, and you can see that this comes right off, so I'm going to just go take this off. There we go. So if you look, it's a simple mod. This pops off right here. So it's a simple 3D print, caps onto your spring, makes life a lot easier, and keeps the spring so that it's straight up and down. Because what will happen is if you don't use these, the spring kind of tilts. And then what you're doing is when you're tightening up your bed to level it, you think that you're screwing it, but in reality, and you're bringing down the bed, but in reality, what you're doing is you're just tilting the spring, and then you have to keep screwing and screwing and screwing just to level the bed. This helps fix that problem. The problem is that when I originally printed this, I printed them in PLA. In my experience, and I haven't had a lot of people report this, in my experience, these melted and actually made this mod almost impossible to work with, because the nut that's on the bottom here, there is a lock nut. These are lock nuts here, so that these don't move. These heated up and actually made an indentation on the nut and then curved it permanently. So rather than print these in PLA, we printed them in PETG, and that solved the problem. So this mod here, same bolt, lock nuts, or lock bolts here, or lock nuts that went down on the bolt, and then that way this doesn't move. One of the problems that I had is once you're screwing these in, one of these were actually bent a little bit, so it didn't fall in the hole properly. So if you're going to do that mod, the lock washers I took off. So I don't think I have, or maybe I do. Oh, yes, sorry, Bill, you're right. We had lock nuts on here. And what we found is that the lock nuts were a little bit wider and round. And when they were wide and round, they defeated the purpose of this piece here printed, because what it would do is it would also make this wobble. So what we did was we replaced it with a lock washer and a standard nut. I think it's a 3mm nut, and then that way when this goes on here, it sits flush against it and we don't have that problem. But if you're going to do the upgrade, here's what I recommend. Before putting your springs on, what you want to do is you want to just drop the printer, drop the heat bed on through the holes and make sure that they fall straight through. If they don't fall straight through, and like right now mine is not, so I know that one of my bolts are bent a little bit. So before I put this back together, I'm going to make sure that this heat bed drops right into place, drops all the way down. If it drops all the way down, then I know that the bolts are straight and that they're going parallel to the hole. If they're not, if it's giving me a hard time to get it out, then I know one of the bolts are bent and I just need to make sure that they're straightened out before I continue on. And if you see, I don't know if you can see it, but this is the upgrade. Instead of doing a permanent soldering job on the hotbed, this is a good workaround, so you're not permanently modifying your ANET printer, right? So I'm going to move this back here just to get it out of the way. Then we're going to start our modding. All right, so the first thing I want to point out is that during the installation of the ANET printer, they actually had this switched. And what we noticed, me and my brother noticed, is, and along with a lot of other people that verified this on the Facebook page, as you can see, this belt actually should go straight back to the motor. What we were finding is this bed, they had you switch, so this bracket was flipped on this side so that it was up on top. And that's probably the way yours is by stock. You had a 50-50 shot of getting this right. And if you watch the video, you probably got it wrong, because in the video they have this bracket here on the top of the H frame. So, which meant that this belt was actually being pulled up away from the motor. So if you're going to attempt this, now some people reported that they did this switch, didn't make a difference in their prints, but if you're ever going to have to take apart your printer, it's probably a good idea to take your brackets that are holding your belt in here. This is pretty tight, but the brackets that are here, you want to unscrew all of these screws here, and then flip your bed, and then reverse the screws for the belt, so that way your belt falls the same way it is, but this bar actually is underneath the H bracket and not on top of the H bracket. For me, it made a little bit of a difference. Not a big difference, or I wouldn't be sitting here modifying this printer right now, but it made a little bit of a difference. And you'll find that with the ANET, every little bit starts adding up to a very, very, very good print. This right here, this belt tensioner, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this belt temperature up. So I'm just going to go ahead and unwind this, and this will let me pull this belt loose, and then I'm actually going to take this off. So I'm going to remove these screws, and then at that point we're going to remove this belt, and that's where we're going to start. I stopped using the screwdriver that came with the ANET. I found that it wasn't really the right screwdriver for any of the screws that are in here, so I'm using my own. Now sometimes at one point you are going to see me switch back over to the one, because it's too fat to get into certain things. when you're messing with your H bracket, it is always recommended that you never tighten or loosen the screws one section at a time. Always go from corner to corner then to the opposite direction, and then go around the opposite direction again, removing. So you'll notice I removed this one, this one, this one, and this one, left these two here. And then I want to do the same thing up here so that I don't add stress to this going in one direction as I'm moving or tightening. So now I'm going
I
to...
think the lug bearings were a good upgrade.
The lug bearings?
I
Yeah.
think the lug bearings were a good upgrade.
Yeah, so do I. I'm hoping that going to make a huge difference. So let's go here. Happen to be doing this on a table that actually slides, so. Sweetie, could you give me that's exactly what I was going to ask for. So this was a nice 3D print here that I did. I'm going to show you this real quick. If this was when we take a dog for a walk, this actually my brother turned me on to this. But when you take your dog for a walk, this actually goes around the water bottle, and then if they need a drink, you just pour this in here, and it's a bowl. It's a portable bowl for a dog. Great print. This was printed in PET G because we wanted to be food safe for the dog. However, what we find ourselves using it for is we put all of our parts in it as we go along. So that's what I want to do here. Of course, I wash it afterwards so that I don't poison my dog with oils and stuff. But I'm going to put all these loose parts in there. Off. Another thing, if you're new to the Anet, and this is your first 3D printer, great printer by the way, good choice for your first 3D printer. It's a learning experience, as you already know. It's not a plug and play printer. It's one that you're going to have to tinker with. So you do learn a lot, but don't like quickly move this back and forth, because you'll notice that. When I first got this printer, I was pushing it, making sure that this was moving properly. And every once in a while, I would see my screen light up. And I would be like, what? So as you're moving this, you're actually sending current back through to the unit, back to the motherboard. So if you move this fast enough, you'll send enough current where it'll light it up. And I don't want you sending too much current, flipping this back and forth. So just be careful with it. All right, I'm going to flip this around.
You want that?
No, I'm good. I'm going to flip this around, and hopefully you can see it. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to take out this screw. And hopefully I got enough play here where I can take this belt off the motor. And I do. Okay, good. Let's flip this around. Get this out of the way, because I want access to these bearings here. So now once this is off, the whole goal here is to take these rods here off of the printer. So what I'm going to do is now, for me, I have these flaps right here. I have these set in a position. With this printer, with it being the frame being made out of acrylic, the problem with this printer is if you don't put these rods on properly in the right order, and let's just say that you decide you're going to screw this together, you're going to make them tight and so on. If you're not doing it properly, what you're really doing is you're bending the acrylic in a way where it's actually making your printer not squared up. And if the printer is not squared up, then your H bracket is not squared up, which means that your hot bed is not squared up, and then you have a problem leveling your bed. If you don't get a good bed level before your print, then the first layer is not going to lay right, and then your prints are going to be all screwed up, and you're going to wonder why do my prints not look like everybody else's on the Facebook page? And it may be because you just put one of these bolts. You tightened it in the wrong direction at the beginning, and you kind of forced your printer not to be square. At least that's my experience. So I'm gonna show you exactly how I square this printer up, right or wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just what I do. But I do know that right where these bolts sit right now, this rod does not move. It does not have play. This flat rod, and that it bangs up against these brackets here, these stoppers. So I'm going to loosen up these stoppers. This one's actually already loose. I'm going to loosen up these stoppers. I'm going to slide this rod out, and that'll give me access. That'll let me take off these joints here, these housing brackets here, and then I'll be able to get to the bearings inside them. My whole goal is to get inside these to upgrade the bearings. So let me go ahead and flip these off. Should be able to move this forward. Slide one off. And then slide this out. Now this is the easy part. This is the easy. If this was all I had to do, I'd be a happy man. I wouldn't have to continue on. Get rid of this. Now another thing, that if you're going to upgrade something like this, and you're going to take these rods off, you might want to just take a second and roll the rod on something flat to make sure that this rod is perfectly straight. Because if these rods are bent in any way, then you're going to get some banding or Z-wobble in your prints, and that's because these are not perfectly flat. These have to be perfectly straight in order for your prints to come out right, including these rods over here, left and right. So I've already done that. I've taken these rods off many times. I've made sure they're straight. One has a little bit of a wobble, but not something too dramatic. All right, so here's where I'm trying to get at. So these clamps right here. Now, you're going to see me use the cutter that came with the printer in order to get this. There's a washer in here, and the washer is taken off. So you're really trying to pinch the inside of this washer to take this out, the gasket, I guess it is, or washer. And then that'll let this, the bearing come out, the old bearing, which is the metal ball bearing bearings. Now this is what I'm replacing. That's why I got these. So I'm going to replace the inside of them with these. This should be a fast and easy upgrade. So let me go ahead and get my tool and do these real quick. You're probably familiar with this. This is not the stock one that came with it. This is another one that I bought, but it should work. All right, let's see what I can do here. Whoa. Okay, see, this is a little bit scary. This is the first time I'm doing this, so. Okay. That may not work.
What about these?
Let me try something else here. I've watched many people use these, but these are not the ones that came with the printer. So let me try to get something else. All right, maybe these will work. No, that ain't gonna work neither. Try this. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to break that.
Let me run you over the stocked ones.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I don't want to break this one. All right, so my bro's going to run over the stock one. So while he's doing that, he's right around the corner. Here's a funny story. We're identical twins. We decided to buy a house way back in the day, about 15, 20 years ago. But we decided not to tell each other where we were buying a house. And lo and behold, when we bought the house, I can actually see his backyard from my backyard if I'm on the roof. So I don't know how that managed, but I guess when you're a twin, it happens like that. So he's going to run me over the stock one because I watched him take it off with the stock one. I have a funny feeling that this blade here is a little bit more narrow and sharp, and it's pulling away from this. But I don't know if you can see this or not, but you're trying to get in that. There you go. You're trying to get in there and you're trying to remove those clips. You're trying to pull those clips in, and then that will take that out, the washer out, and let this bearing fall out. That's what I'm trying to do. So while I'm waiting for him, I'm going to go ahead and take the belt off of this H bracket, because this is another upgrade I'm going to do. So if you remember building your printer, the only real thing that's holding this belt on is these 4 screws. I'm going to loosen these. Let's see if I can get this off. All right, easy enough. That frees up the belt. I'm going to put this aside. And here's the belt. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the length of this belt to cut my new belt. So let me open up this belt here. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't this come with candy?
Yeah, it's on that.
Is it? I was going to say, did somebody eat my candy? Oh, wait a minute. Is there?
It's in it.
Oh yeah, look, the company sent Sour Patches. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna eat them later. If things don't go well, I'm gonna eat them. All right, let me. I think I'm gonna cut this. Oh, there we go. All right, so let me just measure this belt here. And after this Facebook goes, after I'm done with YouTube, I'm going to. I'll put links to all the stuff that I purchased. So let me go this way. Okay, so I'm going to cut this. Okay, it's this one here. All right, so this is the old belt. Again, nothing wrong with this belt that I had on there. But I have a funny feeling that the teeth didn't marry the belt there, so I just feel better if I got rid of it. So this is the new belt. Now I could just slap this on. However, if you notice, remember on your ANET when you put this together, this back here, this motor has this on it, which I'm going to replace. This is this one here. This came with the belt, so if you're thinking about upgrading, and I put the link. The same amount of teeth on this is actually the same amount of teeth on the belt, which makes it very easy to upgrade. So now I'm going to replace that piece down there with this. And one of the things that I learned when doing this is I could easily put this on, tighten it up, and then throw the belt on. But I'm going to explain why I'm not going to do that, because it may end up landing me into another issue. So let me go ahead and get an Allen wrench. These are the ones that came with the printer, and I'm going to just remove this one back here. Did Bill leave? Did he say he left?
Yeah.
Because I didn't get an Allen wrench with this, and I bet you it's a different size.
I can't like
No, I got it. That'll work. All right, let's get this one off. So this is just a matter of loosening off some set screws that are on here. So here's the old one. And again, there's nothing wrong with this one here, but I'm going to replace it with the new one. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in here. I'm not going to tighten it. I'm just going to let it ride there. And the reason being is when I put this belt back on here, now remember that the bed is going to be this way. This is going to be on here. It's going to run through this. It's going to wrap around here. When I put this on here, if I have this pushed too far into the motor, then what's going to happen is the belt is going to go straight up to the H bracket, but then it's going to curve in to the motor. And that may not be a good thing because it's going to fight itself. So what you do is you leave this loose, you get your belt in place, move it back and forth so that this moves left and right. And what will happen is it'll center itself based off of you moving the bed back and forth. Once it centers itself, then you know where it needs to sit and then tighten it down. And that way you're sure that your belt is straight for however you have this mounted. Even if you don't do this this upgrade, you want this belt to be as straight as possible so that you're not adding tension to the belt. Oh, I got my bros here with the piece, so give me a second here. Thanks, dude. Yeah, look, this. I'm going to try that and see what happens. All right, let's see if we can do this again. See how mine is fatter?
Oh, it's a little bit fatter. You need a real thin one. Watch how easy it is. Oh, I didn't grab it. These were like made for it. Here, let me show you.
he's on.
Yeah.
Get it in there. Grab it. And then slide it right
Oh, okay.
out.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let me.
Do it from the bottom. You have an easier time.
Yeah, that was
doing it.
probably my problem.
Okay.
See, we're all learning. All right, let's see if we can pop this out.
And my suggestion is if you can't pop it out,
Go to the other one.
put that one back in. Here, and here, can I?
Yep,
may
yep. Jump in here.
All right. I'll do the first one because I did like 7 of these and they were painted. So put this back on, get a grip on it, squeeze it back together, and then snap it back in. See how I just did that?
Yeah, got
And
it.
then just make sure that it's clipped into place.
All right, now will you hear a click when it goes in?
Sometimes you will, but sometimes you just gotta eyeball it. Like I'm looking around, you could see it's in the groove.
Oh, okay.
I forgot my glasses, but I could see it's in that groove. And now just do the other side. Like grip it from the bottom.
All right, let me see. Let me
With the
give me this. Give me these. Blotch.
Just get a good grip on it and like push it in. You'll feel those little ends. Like you'll feel you got it. And now squeeze it and then pull it straight out.
Oh, yeah,
There you
it
go.
was. Yeah, this definitely. I'm gonna put this aside for right now because that was much easier. Okay, there it is. All right, there's the old bearing.
And the
Now
only
that's-
reason why you don't want to do it from the other side because you're jamming this out.
Right, I don't
and
wanna
I
do
found
that.
that the other one, you jam in it because it's plastic. You don't want to
Oh,
jam
okay.
it.
All right, that is kind of gooky.
Yeah,
Did you not wipe those out?
I didn't wipe that out.
Okay, all right. So let's put this one aside. And then we might as well do the upgrades on these, and then I'll go back to the belt. Now these should just slide right in.
Give it a good push, it'll go in.
There we go. That's all the way in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's get this going again. And here, just so that you can see what that looks like. That's what you're dealing with there. Ironically, this is the one that came. This cutter came with the A8. Perfect for this. The one that I ended up having to replace because when I got mine was broke. So I replaced mine, and the angle on them are a little bit different.
They're a lot easier to do once you get past that intimidation
Yeah.
of squeezing it in, pushing it in.
I got to tell you, dude. At one point, I thought I was going to cut with that. I thought I was going to cut through
break
the,
it?
yeah, cut through the metal, and
Yeah.
just because it's not very thick metal. I didn't hear it snap, but I think that's in. Here, you want to look at that one, and I'll
Yeah.
do the other ones. All right, so let's get 3 more of these out. Put these aside, but that crap didn't work.
That looks good. Looking real good. Except for that one
Yeah, that's
F
so
part
much
at the
better.
bottom.
Shut up. Okay. I'm going to end up doing all of them, right? Taking them both off.
Did you try pushing it a little bit?
Should I push in?
Yeah, try pushing a little bit. Yep. Okay, yep.
No. So much for that.
Yeah, this one looks good. Where are you putting your good ones over here?
Yeah, I can.
It's good practice.
Shut up. Any questions over there?
There's only 2 people watching.
Okay.
Well, it's only 2 on that. I found that when you're looking at it on Facebook, it doesn't.
No, there's no.
Would there be a different chat for that?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Because there was 5 people, then it was 4, then.
Yeah, that's because this is taking forever.
And this is the part most people want to see anyway.
Yeah. Okay, 2 down. All right, so I want to flip this, but now I'm just going to do this one because I've been wrong the whole time. So I'm going off I'm not going to go off my instincts here. You son of a bitch.
How are you?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, look at that. It slides right out when you do the right hand.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
Almost lost an eye there. Thank you, sweetie.
Man, did you hear that ricochet?
That was pretty good. I hope that came up on camera. How we found it?
That would have been the end of the build right there.
It would have. All right, that didn't click in. There we go.
All right, well, listen, I've
All
got
right.
to go log back into
All right.
work.
Thanks, dude. I'll get these back to you.
Can I have, why don't you hold on to my clippers? Give me your clippers.
Right there, the green
Okay.
ones.
These crappy things.
Yay, yo, 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 yo.
And then, just, I'll keep watching. Let me know how it goes.
Okay. Thanks, dude.
No problem.
I can't reply, Bill, so.
That's okay. I'll talk to you in a bit.
All right. Just want to make sure that these move freely. Okay, one more to go on this one. See if this works. Sure, it's the wrong one. That is unbelievable. Okay, let's go the other way. 444. I'm sure I could have pulled it out, but if one way lets it flow out, yeah, you know what? I'll go back. Okay, this one's going to have to be pushed out. Find something to get this on. No. There we go. That one's a little bit tight. So hopefully that bearing slides in okay. Okay, that'll work. Okay, let's get this last one, and then we can move on to the belt. Okay, so it looks like we are good. All right, first step done. All right, so there is the IGUS bearings installed. These were the old ones. Okay, and then the new ones are ready to go. So we got all four set up. I'm going to go ahead and replace this belt like I was doing before he came over, and then we'll flip this around and get the bearings on, and step one is complete. So here we go. I'll put these away. Now, this is the old belt. Let me get rid of this one. And let me get some water. All right, so. Thanks. All right, so. Got to make sure that this goes in the right way. So remember that this is going to actually be flipped. Now this is what I was talking about in the build, the original build. They had these brackets here on this side. So when you were done, your actual H plate was actually with this up. And that's not really how it should be, because what will happen is your cable will go this way, and then it'll actually bend itself up and then back down again. You don't really want that. So what you want to do is you want to take these off and then put them on the bottom so that this plate is actually down this way on the bottom of it instead of being on the top of it. All right. So remember that you're gonna these teeth go down, so you're gonna have to kind of do this backwards. So this has to go this way, and then I'm gonna flip this around, line it up in the middle here, and tighten her down. I don't know if I'm out of frame. No, I'm out of frame. Okay. I'm not going to tighten it all the way, so I have some play. And then I'm going to take this side and just loop it. Make sure it's straight. Loop it. Down. Like where it's sitting. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Let me tighten her up. Okay. Now we get her in position here. And now what I want to do before I even put this on, crap. All right, let's take this one back off. All right, if you're doing this upgrade, don't be a student like me, because I actually have to feed it through here. So I got to take this back off again, feed it through. Because that'll help. Now let's get it going again. Thought something was kind of weird there. I'm like, why is that belt falling freely? Now all I'm doing when I do this is I'm making sure that it's lined up with the other side of the belt and making sure that the teeth are lined up or parallel with the metal. And that'll tell me that this is squared off. And you want it to be as paired up to the other side as possible and in the middle, because the belt is really what drives this whole XY axis, and if it's off a little bit, then your print's going to be off a little bit. This is one of those printers where all printers, 3D printers are very finicky, but if you have play in any one of your printers, it's going to result in some changes in your print quality. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my smooth rods here. I'm going to wipe these down in case there's any grease or oil left over on these. I want to get rid of it, so especially with the IGUS bearings, because the IGUS bearings are self-lubricating. You don't really need anything on them, so it's better to wipe your rods clean, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, now remember, I didn't touch the frame yet, and I may have to, but I'm going to slide this through here. And then I'm going to put on my first upgraded I-guess bearing. I'm going to put that on here. Okay, and then I'm going to put the second one on. Give myself some room here. And then feed that all the way back into the hole. And what will happen is when I push this all the way back, because I never moved this here, I know the frame is still squared. If I flip this up, you're going to see that it just fits snugly because this doesn't have any play in it if this is up. So I know that the frame is still square. So I'm just going to tighten this one down a little bit so that it doesn't work its way loose. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other rod. I'm going to make sure that I get all the excess oil and grease off of it. And then slide the new brackets on with the, or slide the old brackets on with the new I-guess bearings. And hopefully we'll hear the hotbed move around a lot more quieter. Okay, so here we go. Slide this on. Slide this on. Slide the second one on. And then feed it through. Snug in the back. Move this back up and tighten her down. Okay. So now I'm not really worried about feeding this back here properly yet, because the belt can stay loose, because remember I have the belt tensioner here. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay these, I'm just going to line up these correctly so that I can screw these down, and then I will worry about the belt. Alright, now remember when you're putting these screws on to your H bracket, always go 2 and then odd. Now some people have reported that when they're putting the when they put the new bearings on, they have smoother prints and better success if they only put 2 screws in each one. I'm going to start off with 4, so I'm gonna house this the same way it was. I'm going to put all the same screws in it, and I'm going to check to see if I have a problem, because if it pulls a little bit, I think I got my frame pretty straight, but if it pulls a little bit, then the I-guess bearings is going to rub against these rods too hard, and then it messes with the quality of the print. So I believe that if your frame is not straight, you may have that problem. However, I think mine is, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with all 4 screws in each one. One of my screws are stripped, so you're going to see me struggle a little bit with one of them. And I think I nailed it. Yeah, I think it's that one. I'll put that one aside for right now, because I think it is that one. But notice I'm going on an angle for each one, here, 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 here. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here on an angle. And I can see through the bed, so I can see through here to make sure that they're lined up. You know, it may look like I'm lucking out and getting them right in there, but I can see right through it with the lighting. Alright, so I'm going to tighten these up a little bit. I'm not going to tighten them all the way, but just enough where I still have some play. And then I'll go around with the other ones, and then I'll tighten them up. Okay. Chugging along. So, believe it or not, half the upgrade is done because it was really getting these bearings on and the new belt on. If I stopped here, I may be okay. I may have improved the quality of my prints. And a lot of people, the reason why I did this video, and I'm going to keep it up and make it live, and you know, you can always see it later, is a lot of people question the IGUS bearings, you know, doing the IGUS bearing upgrades. How do you do them? You know, is it easy? Is it hard? And you'll see that you know, you saw that it wasn't really that bad. If you, and most of you have that, the snippers that came with it, so you wouldn't struggle the way I did with getting the little clips off in order to get the old bearings out. So all in all, it's not a bad upgrade. The IGUS bearings, I forget how much they cost, but again, debatable on whether they're really worth it. Is that dog okay?
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. I can tell you that my brother, he just stopped over. He has the same printer. He did the same upgrades, and his print quality's improved quite a bit. Matter of fact, he posted some of his new prints on the Facebook page, on the A8 Facebook page, and I saw an improvement on it. So some people would look and go, no, that's the way my prints look. And yeah, out of the box, when you first built this printer, in both of our experiences, our prints looked unbelievable. We were amazed at the quality of the A8 printer when we first got our printers and we put it together. And we have a theory, we were talking about it this morning, that it's almost like building a new house. Everything looks good, everything works good. And then in a couple years, when the house settles, you hear creaking at night when the wind blows, and you know, it's not that solid foundation as when it was originally built. And I think because this is an acrylic frame, which is one of the downsides of the Anet A8, the acrylic frame, I think what happens is you get it all built, everything is solid, everything looks good, but then between the heat and the movement of the printer, you know, it starts to settle in, and then over time you start to see the quality of your prints diminish a little bit, and I think that's the result of me having to do these upgrades. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that is much quieter. I can tell you now, if I'm sitting here and I'm feeling this, it's free. When I moved this before, I was able to slide this all the way back. But now I'm feeling a little bit of friction, like right in the middle here. That's the belt here. A little bit of friction here. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right, so remember I said not to tighten that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and feed this belt in the back here. Hopefully I gave myself enough room. Let me loosen this a little bit more. All right. Then I'm going to feed this back through here. Oh, plenty of room. All right, and then I'll tighten it up just a little bit. And what you'll see is, see how it's moving itself back and forth there? So I can see that right about there. Like if I go back, kind of levels itself there. See how it keeps going out? But if I do this, it starts to center itself right here. I'm going to center it right here. So now that I know that that's where it wants to fall, I'm going to tighten this a little bit more. And then do this again. Yeah, it looks like that it wants to fall right about there. And tighten this a little bit more here. So that's the nice part about this belt tightener. I'm pretty happy with this. There's a couple of variations of this one here, but I'm pretty happy with this one because it works pretty good. All right, you know what? I'm going to keep it right about there because that's where it seems to be. See, when I move it forward, it wants to push itself way out. And this belt does not look straight. I don't know if you're saying this, but when I have this belt this way, it goes way on an angle there. And then when I go up, of course, it's going to push itself in. And that's one of the reasons why I decided not to tighten that right now. So the mere fact that that's on such an angle tells me that something else is wrong here. All right, let me just eye it up here. So I'm going to move it there. Now maybe it's that. Yeah, maybe it was that. I think this was pivoted a little bit. Definitely too far in. I'll screw this up. All right, I think I'm going to go right there. That's where it seems to want to lay, so let's get that tightened down. So I can actually see it better from here. Oh, I see what the problem is. Yeah, I see what the problem is. All right, from here it looks like that I have this belt down here. I have it angled a little bit this way, and that's what it looks like. When I go in the back, it looks like that this belt is not on here properly. I can take this whole thing apart again, or I can try to swivel this back. Which is what I'm going to try to do here. Okay. Let's go this way with it now. I know. How many people are cringing right now with me doing that?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to run with that. Then what I'll do is I'll put this under here. That'll hold that. Yeah, it's better.
Bill says he's back.
Okay. He's going to wonder what the hell I'm doing right now. And some people watching this now or later, it's going to be like, "You're an idiot. Why didn't you just do this or this or this?" I get it. I'm not saying that I know exactly how to do these things. I did what most people did, which was,
What in the world are you doing?
well, here's what happened. The belt wasn't straight, which I realized that the belt, I had this angled, which was pulling on this. So now that I got this straightened out, I can tighten this, but that was the issue. So I had to flip the bed upside down in order to fix it. All right, everybody look away. Oh shit. All right, now let me tighten that down.
Oh, okay.
Is Bill still on the chat?
Mm-hmm. You just said, oh, okay.
Can you ask him
I
if?
can't. Remember, I can't type.
Oh, never mind. Dude,
Okay.
I can. Dude, what? Can you type whether or not the IGUS bearings was a little bit stiff along the smooth rods when you first put them on? Did they feel a little bit stiffer? Because I can tell you that the stock bearings were much smoother than the IGUS. Maybe in time that'll get better, but because they are self-lubricating, so I have to believe that at one point they'll free themselves up. All right, I'm going to go ahead. So we're done here. Now you can see that the belt is
Yes, they will loosen up when you use them.
okay. Good, that's what I thought. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten this down a little bit. Now, I don't know if you can see this here, but so this is the nice part about this belt tensioner. So it's,
Self-lubricating.
yeah, it's, see how loose it is? It should never be this loose. So there's a method where as you tighten this, you should hear a thug. And as you can hear, I'm hearing it getting tight. You should hear a thug, but you shouldn't hear a guitar string. Okay, I'm gonna keep it about there for right now. It's pretty tight, but I don't want it too tight. And then if we move this back and forth, pretty quiet. I can hear a big difference now than the other bearings. There was if you remember at the very beginning of the video, I think it was like 15 hours ago, this right here made a lot of noise. So, good. All right, that upgrade is done. So 2 down. I guess bearings replaced, new belt and teeth on the motor, the Y motor is now replaced. So now this is going to be, you know what, let me go with this next. Now, you know what? Here's where I'm going to have to take this off. Now, there's 2 goals here. I'm going to not only take this off, and I'm going to start by removing the fan and so on. I'm going to have to take this housing off. There's two objections here, 2 objectives. I have to get this off, and I have to check my thermistor, because I think my thermistor is loose, which is throwing off my my temperature reading. And I don't want thermal runaway. That's what I'm trying to prevent. Because if you get thermal runaway at that temperature, if that thermistor is not seated improperly, it may cause a fire. And I'm still paying on this house, so I figured no, it's probably not a good idea. So that's the first thing. Second thing is I have to try to get these smooth rods out of these housings here, which is going to be so friggin' hard. So enough thinking about it. I'm just going to do it. So next step is to remove the fan, and this I'm going to drop down. Once I drop this, the extruder and everything down, the hot end. I'm taking off everything here to get access to this housing here, this plate. I'm going to check the thermistor at that point. Hopefully I can get a good close-up of it. I don't know why I didn't leave this one out. Now when I take this off, you're going to notice that the printing on the fan is on the outside. Don't think I got this reversed. Remember, this is not the stock fan that came with the printer. I completely jacked that stock fan up by doing this, by the way. While the printer was on, I had a jam and accidentally stuck the wrench inside the stock fan and screwed it up. So this is a replacement fan, and while I was at it, I got another one in case I do it again. Okay. All right, so we're going to let this off. Let this dangle here. Okay. And now we're going to remove this spring so we don't lose that. Wonder if I should take off this fan too, make it easier. I think I am. Yeah, of course I have to, actually, thinking about it. And this was 3D printed, and actually it's pretty nice because it locks onto this fan. which I kind of like. I had another one, didn't quite like it as much. Should unplug that, but let me just play it right here. That will work. Okay, so while I have this, I'm gonna have, now I want to take this off, and what I want to do is there's a heat block down here. So once I take this off, I need to get this off because I need to get to the bearings here, and I can't get these rods off until I get these bearings here. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to check the thermistor, and then the whole goal is, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this this motor here, take these rods off altogether, and once I take these rods off, that will give me access. This will free this whole thing up, and I should be able to pull these apart after taking a hammer to them and putting them on, just like the instructions said to do, by the way. So next step is, let me remove this and get to these bearings. So here we go. This is where I'm probably going to need the screwdriver that came with it. Hold on. Because this screwdriver is the one that actually allows you to get in here. So start at the bottom. Take this off without loosening this. I don't think you can. Think about this here. I may have to slide this over. Looks like I'm going to have to loosen this heat block.
Did Bill do this or not?
What's that?
Did Bill do this part?
I don't know, but I can't get access to this. It's the only thing that I can think is going to hold that on. Like, why isn't that moving? It should move. Ah, never mind. Let me tighten this back up. I have to loosen this up. Okay, I'm just going to snug that. Wow, you know what? That was pretty loose already. I wonder if that was a part of my problem. Okay, that may be an issue here. That is turning. What am I missing here? Shit. Okay, I think I just shouldn't have probably did that, so I'll deal with that later. Let me get this off. Should only be 4 here, so this one should free this up. Okay. All right, one down. And I'm going to loosen this belt while I'm at it, so I'm just going to turn this in. That should give me some play. Okay, so now the belt is real loose. Could take the belt off right now, but I don't know if I started any of these. No. All right, so 2 screws and then that should drop this off. So let me tighten this up a little bit so that that doesn't come off. Let's take this one off first. All right, so this should drop off once I get this done. Okay. Taking the belt off at this point. Remember, I'm replacing these belts anyhow, so. All right, so now it's time to look at, oh, these were loose too. All right, now I gotta make sure that I'm looking to see if the thermistor is in there, is seated all the way. And it does look like it is. So I don't know if that was my problem with the temperature changing and fluctuating.
The motor and the end stop.
Let me get my glasses here. Motor and the inside. Alright, it's getting old, so I couldn't see this, but oh crap. Okay, screws came out of that. Alright, so what I'm looking for now is the thermistor goes into this heat block, and I want to make sure that it's in there tight. And it does look like it's in there. I mean, I don't think I'm having now that I'm looking at it, a thermistor problem. Really don't. Really don't think it's that. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to loosen this back up. I'm going to get this screw back in, because I shouldn't have really taken this one off a little bit. Now I'm lost on where this went. Thought it was here. Alright, that's throwing me off a little bit. Not sure how far this went up. Just keep it there for right now. Alright, so alright, so I need to do alright, looking at it, I'm going to have to remove this, and I'm going to have to remove this is now. Let's remove this motor. 3 times the charm. Now what I'm going to do is when I take these screws out, I'm just going to put them right back in the motor so that I'm not losing them. Now one of the things I noticed is over time, this right here, this gear, this was loose also on my A-net. And I didn't even do anything. This was stock. I just put it in. Everything was fine. But over time, that came loose. So I just think that there's such a break-in process with the A-net that's why you see the big debate on whether you should be doing upgrades or not. And you know, again, I was getting great quality prints, and now I'm chasing upgrades to get that back. Okay, so that's off, and now I need to remove this here. So the end stop needs to be removed. Let me get a smaller bit. And this is the most intimidating part of my upgrade process, is taking this off. And I'm just going to lay that there. Alright, so now I have to remove these rods. So which means that I'm going to have to loosen these end points up, these stoppers, so that I can swivel these out of the way. Okay, that one I think is stripped. There we go. All right, so that should allow me to slide these up. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I should have waited on them actually. I'm going to loosen this set screws here. That'll free these up. And then I should be able to swivel these right out of it. That'll drop this whole thing down, and then I can try to move this whole thing off. So here we go. Let's see what we can do here.
Put them back in.
What?
Put them back in.
Put the rods back in? The straight rods? Alright, I'm going to put the straight rods back in. It's being suggested I do this first. So I'm going to put these back in just so it holds it. Which I just have a funny feeling that's probably the better way of doing it. That way I can slide these freely through.
Take the threaded rod out. Threaded rods out first.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Threaded rods first. Alright, so then we'll keep it there. This should allow me to take this out now. Now remember, I'm replacing these, so okay, threaded rod 1 is out. Now I got to loosen these. that's fine. I'm going to let this drop down. And then this should come up. Alright, that rod is out. And now it's a matter of sliding this out and freeing this up. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so we have them out. Open the camera. Alright, I don't know if everything's in view. Yeah, everything's in view. So now the whole idea here is to get this off. Oh, crap. Alright. So that's my upgrade piece.
Rear.
Alright, so you can see that these slide pretty free. Problem is they're pretty noisy also. So the whole idea is to get these off so that I can replace these bearings with, again, the IGUS bearings, which I have here. So I don't know how this is going to go. I may have to take a rubber mallet to it, to be honest with you. Alright, I may end up doing this off camera. If you hear banging, it's me doing this off camera. That's too big,
Yeah.
Alright, I may end up using this because I used one of these to get them on. I may use one of these to get them off. I'm just trying not to bend these rods, so
You need that.
I don't think so. So I'm in the background. I'll try to explain what's happening. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my lap.
Just pull it, will come out.
No, it won't. Oh, yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. Okay. Yep. Pull it and it'll come out. And it did. All right, good job. All right, so I'm taking these off. So 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. So I'm just going to lay these. I need some room now. Got myself in a pinch here. So 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. Okay, so now it's time to do the same thing here with these. Wow. Okay. Hey, finally. Okay, so that one's out. And my new IGUS bearing goes in.
Two on the top, 1 on the bottom.
2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. I got it. Then we'll put this puppy back on.
Weigh the difference between the 2 bearings.
Oh, is it dramatic? Let me see. Wow. Wow, that is dramatic. Yeah, that is quite a weight difference there. Okay, well, I'm pretty happy with that.
And he typed in weigh the difference between the 2 bearings.
Yeah, I just did. That's crazy. All right, that one's down.
Yes, look how much weight is coming off the printer.
Yeah, especially on that flat rod. That's where the printer head is. So any weight that you can eliminate, come on. So yeah, that's pretty amazing. Oh wow, this one was. Listen to that. That one is not in good shape. Are they all doing that? No, they're all doing that. Okay, all right. I just happened to not shake it. All right.
Are those things leaking oil?
Is that you asking?
Yeah.
No, I don't have any leaking oil.
I just want to make sure. I'm not getting it all up or down.
All right, the only thing that I may need everybody's opinion on is this this screw down here, this set screw underneath the heater block. I took that off thinking that that was holding the heater block, and here it wasn't necessary to take it off. So I don't know if I caused myself a bigger problem there. I guess we'll find out, but if anybody knows how to know whether that's on properly or not.
Don't forget to whip the rods.
Don't
Wipe.
wipe the rods? Yeah, I'm going to wipe them down. I was like, whip the rods? What the hell does that mean?
I was trying to drink and say it at the same time. Sorry.
I'll whip the crap out of those rods. Hey, I got them all in without flinging another one across the room. All right.
No, just screw that shit back on the heater block.
Okay. All right, let me whip the rods. I probably have a crap load of gook all over these rods.
Are you talking about that single screw inside?
Yeah, I'll point it out to you so that you know which one I'm talking about, but I may have jacked it up, so we'll see. All right, so two on the top, one on the bottom. Oh, wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Look at that. That's pretty crazy. All right, I'm digging that right there. Nice, nice upgrade. All right, let me put this back on. Get this one right.
You forgot to wipe.
I do, I wiped it. What did I wipe it? But I wiped it down. I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, I wonder if I should take these out before I continue. Did these just pop off? Because I got replacements for these also. And I think I should.
Oh, okay. Yes.
All right, I don't see a clamp here to get this one out. So are these just tensioned in there? All right, let's see.
Take them out now.
Does what's the best way of doing that? Does he know? I mean, I can just try to push it out. It looks like that it's just in there with, it's just a stress fit. See, people,
Push them out with a Sharpie from under.
oh, good idea, Sharpie. See guys, doing this is a learning experience for everybody.
Turn it down. Bring your hand, there you go.
Nope. That is not budging. That is not budging at all.
You're out of sprint, you're out of shot.
Oh, that ain't gonna work because I'm actually. Let me get something else here.
We went downstairs. I just told whoever's watching me, went downstairs. Don't squeeze while you do it.
Well. Hmm. Cheese, cheddar, cheeses. Let me try this one. Okay. That is not budging. Okay, just gonna try that, but that crap ain't gonna work. Oh, there it goes. I got it. Did something. Okay.
And your roll spring.
You know what? They're not really in bad shape. But I'll replace them anyhow, because I got replacements. Now again, if you're going to do this upgrade, don't replace these with IGUS bearings. You're going to be tempted because they're smooth. But from what I've read, because of the weight of the extruder, you're kind of going on an angle, and then the IGUS bearings start to wear off on an angle, and ends up jacking you up. So, okay, one down. Let me move over to this one. I know I'm probably off frame, so I apologize, but wow. Wow. Jesus.
You were pushing a burner.
Oh, I was pushing the burner.
I'm like sitting there watching a burner move. I'm like, oh my god. Please tell me the camera off.
Wow, I needed something to drink there. Come on, you can come out. Oh, whew. This upgrading's for the birds. Look at this. Look at this pen. It's actually
No, can't say it. It's real, from around.
good. I'm actually twisting the pen and making it. You are seeing me on camera. Okay, good. You're seeing the struggle.
Now you're like,
Is it even budging? No, it's not even budging. All right, let me ain't this but a mofo. I don't want to put stress on the smooth rod, so I'm trying to keep this straight. And I get a funny feeling this is actually widening it, but I don't have anything else. Come on.
you can slide a screwdriver in the slit.
Oh, is that right?
Fuck, Steph, I say shit. You're gonna be freaking out because the thing keeps moving.
The what?
The printer keeps moving me. I'm
Oh.
freaking. I'm like, oh my god, there's no crashing on the door.
All right, I'm going to try to slide a screwdriver in the slit. See, how does one do that and push at the same time? Like how? Okay, need a hand here. All right, so what I need you to do is I need you to go like this and kind of push up a little bit, but not too hard. Hey. Oh wait, that's a two different. Look at that. That is crazy. Okay, so look at this. First of all, one of these are leaking. I don't know if I did that or not. Dude, did you have two regular bearings instead of one? And this is like there's oil everywhere. One of these are broke. No wonder I had a hard time getting that out. Let me
Holy shit.
yeah, right? Right? So I'm kind of glad I'm doing this because that's not what's supposed to be in there. And now I don't want to use a napkin because you don't really want to get napkin fibers in there. Let me see if I can clean it out with this. That's wrong, right? That is wrong?
What? I don't know. You just said holy shit no.
Yeah, I think he's saying holy shit because that is wrong. And don't worry, this video is not monetized because I don't know what you could say on YouTube without getting your video pulled. Let me there's literally oil. There's oil from that bearing, that second bearing, all in here. So I'm trying to get that oil out.
Mine was the same on both sides.
Yeah, I think that's what's supposed to be there, is the same on both sides. So if you're doing this upgrade, I don't think you're supposed to have two small bearings on one side of this. Okay. You go the other way now. That one threw me off a little bit there. Now, but maybe somebody who watches this replay will tell me that's normal, that's not unusual, but I mean, I don't know. I'm thrown off by that one. All right, let me.
Wow.
And the fact that it was full of oil tells me that one of those bearings were kind of messed up. Okay, that's not a smart move. Okay. Can't get that in any further, so I'm just gonna have to stop there.
You're not actually, can't see what you're doing.
I'm just trying to get this bearing in a little bit further. I don't think I'm getting it in any further down. That one fell in a little bit further than this one, but I'm just going to stop it there. All right. Apologize if I'm doing some of this out of frame. I only have so much room to work with here. Okay.
That looks good.
All right. So all the IGUS bearings are upgraded. So now it's a matter of, now while we have this off, let's put this aside for right now, because the next thing I want to do is I want to upgrade these here. So let me take these completely off. Now there's supposed to be a certain millimeter gap from the bottom of the Anet housing to the beginning of this, and you're supposed to measure it, but me and my brother found an easy way of getting it close to where it needs to be. And I'll show you that now. So I'm replacing those with metal ones. Those are plastic. These are a little bit higher quality. Okay, I'll show you the difference here. Okay. That's the one that was on there. And then here's the one I'm replacing it with. Okay. So I'm going to get them in there. It's actually a right way and a wrong way. That's a wide end. There's the short end. So for short end facing down into the motor rod. So what I'm going to do is, if you'll notice here, let me see if I can swing this around. This will fall right into place, okay? And this will actually fall all the way down. And in the instructions, they have you putting them all the way down, having them drop all the way down. And but I'm not going to do that. Let me open up this one and throw this one on there. Actually, these may be, no, they're plastic. And you could see if here, let me do this. Because a lot of people don't understand why they want you to separate these. If you see right here, I can push these together. See how there's play? See how I'm pushing it together? A lot of people don't even know that's what that's meant to do. So if I look at the new one that I just got, focus on this. This also pushes together. Little bit tougher, to be honest with you. But I actually think that I do want that to be a little bit tougher. So now, what people will do is they will take this, which I did at first, and I made sure that, or let me loosen this up. I think I'm missing a set screw here. Missing both set screws. Right on here. No, they're just way in there. Yeah, way in there. Alright, let's see if that drops down now. There we go. There we go. Let me do that with that one, just to make sure. Okay, so in the video on the build process, what they have you do is they have you put these down on here, which I just did. See how I dropped them into place? And then they have you dropping your threaded rods down through the brackets here, and then they have you drop it into place here. That's, from what I understand, completely wrong, because what you're doing is you're letting the threaded rods rest up against the motor. The rod coming out of the motor, the steel rod coming out of the motor. So really what's happening is you're resting it against here and not giving these the opportunity to bend. And what should happen is they should be able to move freely. And that's the reason why your rod doesn't go all the way up here at the top, because you want them to move freely. Once you have them seated all the way down, then you're not given that movement. Now, some people's prints have been, my prints at the beginning were very successful, and I had them dropped all the way down. However, I'm going to put them on the way that they're described on the form in the Help Me documents, the actual troubleshooting documents. So one of the easiest ways we discovered to get the proper gap, at the bottom at least, is just to take the wrench that came with your A-nut and lift this up and drop it in. Okay, and that will give you the millimeter gap that's at least close to, if not right on, that you need for this to be floating off of the rod, off the motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. And somebody may jump in and say, that's completely wrong. I'm just going off of the documents that we read, and me and my brother debated this for a while. I mean, this went back and forth for a while. Is this the proper thing to do? And if you go on and you look at people's prints, and people, have really good quality prints, and you look at their upgrades, you will notice that there is that gap alongside here, that they don't have these flush. And so I'm going to not do the same thing. I'm going to keep that gap and see what happens. Okay, so I got that one pretty tight. All right, and I don't know if you could see that. Let me try to... Yeah, I just dropped something. Let me try to move this up here. All right, I'm screwing this up, but if you could see, there is a gap right here. So I'm not dropping these all the way down. I'm leaving a gap here, and I'm going to do the same on that side. All right, so doing the same over here. got the gap. Okay, so all I did was tighten down the set screws here and here. I think they're pretty tight. And now I'm going to move back to the rods. I'm going to wipe down the rods once more. And then I'm going to start with the smooth rods. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide that back into the brackets that we took off. I got more oil on my hand because of that mysterious double up weird bearing situation there on that rod. That's still throwing me off a little bit. Okay, let's throw this puppy back on. One down. Okay. There we go. Okay. Well, I was going to say that's sliding pretty nice, but there we go. Okay, so that's down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this so I don't have play, so that when I'm working with the threaded rods, these are not moving up and down. So I'm just going to tighten these back down. And all these are is the little hinges that hold the smooth rods in place. Okay, and now comes time to wipe down the threaded rods, slide them into place. Now I noticed that my threaded rods, if I go in one direction, are pretty messed up. And I have a funny feeling that that happened because something was too tight or one of the bearings were messed up. But now that I have everything as IGUS bearings, I'm not going to weight this too much. I want it looped a little bit. Okay. All right, let's do this. Okay. So now it's time to get these in here. Let me loosen these up a little bit because these seem a little bit too tight to let that fall. Because I want that to drop down so I know exactly Right there they go. Okay, so that dropped. And that's what you want. You want that to drop. So I'm going to loosen this one. There you go. That one dropped also. Good. So now, these are sitting way too low. So there should be a gap, a little bit of a gap up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise these until I see a gap. Now, I don't know of a good way of doing this. The last time I did it, what I did was I took these rods off and taped where it needed to sit against here. But to be honest with you, as long as there's a gap up there, I think I'm just going to put them, screw them down just with the gap. And I'm just going to make sure that the gap is the same on both sides. But the whole goal here is to make sure that this threaded rod is not sitting against the metal rod coming up out of your motor. Because
just hit the top of the frame.
so, okay, so it's suggested to just hit the top of the frame. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put something up there and go against that. So hold on, let me do this. I was going to say let me use a credit card, but there ain't no way that I'm using a credit card. Let me use a card here. Let me do that, and maybe that'll work.
You don't have it in front.
Oh, hold on.
Can't see what you're doing.
All right. All right, can you let me know if you can see that? I know there's a delay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what I'm doing, I'm just putting a card up there so I know that it's not in the hole and they're both going to be even on the top of the frame. So I'm just going to tie this down where it's at here.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I come up with them. So just to recap, for me to compensate the fact that this shouldn't be touching each other, all I did was use the wrench, slid it in, and let it drop down. That gave me play so that it's not sitting on the motor. And then I just stopped it at the top with a card, and that'll give me a gap in between here, because really what you want is, and I'll use the old one, you want the rod from the motor to come up to around here, and then the threaded rod to come down a little bit. You don't want them touching. The whole point of this is that so that this moves back and forth. If you have the rods against each other, then you're defeating the purpose. They're not going to move. And you want this to be free floating. So at least this way I know that this is not against the motor, but yet it's not in the hole so that it's free floating. There's probably a better way of doing this, but this is the bob way. So it's the only way I'm doing it right now. So if you decide to do it this way, then just credit bob way. And there we go. So that's floating. All right, I like that. I like that. So let me do the same with this.
Make sure your rods are straight and aligned.
Make sure the rods are straight. Yes. That was a good idea, and I should have did that before I did this. Huh. So I tightened it. So let me tighten it down, and then all right. So what we're saying, what we have to make sure is that the gap is consistent all the way up. I mean, I can break out the caliber and see what it is. Hold on, let me get rid of my caliber. All right, so 14.4. Yeah, see, that has to come over a little bit. All right, I'm gonna have to loosen this and try to force it over a little bit. All right, good call.
I could not get mine perfect.
All right, we'll see if it made a difference. Better. All right, so when I touch it's 14. Now, actually, I'm gonna have to be happy with that. Because I don't know how much more I can have it go the other way, so I'm gonna run with that. This is 14.3 here and then 13.8 there. Okay, that's pretty straight. I like this one here. Yeah, this one's pretty straight. Okay, so it looks like that we got these upgrades done. So to recap so far, IGUS bearings here, here, and here. IGUS bearings been replaced on the hotbed down here. So all 7 have been updated. Oh crap. Oh, see, that's not good. So all 7 have been upgraded. I wonder if that just threw that off. Four. No, actually, it made it better. So I upgraded to IGUS bearings on the hotbed on this bracket here, and then on the straight rods up here. So much quieter. Now this one, let's see, what did it break in? I checked my thermistor while this was off, and then replaced these here with better upgraded ones. Cleaned off my rods and replaced the belt. Now I have to replace the belt one here, and I may have to stop. I may have to stop before I get to that belt because I realized I don't have ties in order to replace the belt and continue on. But I am going to put this back together and put these back on, and then the only thing left after that is to replace the belt. But at least the upgrades will be done. I think I covered everything here. I don't really need to do the fan. So it looks good. So let me start assembling everything back. I think this actually went down. Can somebody look at their X motor and let me know if the wires actually go down on the X motor? I think they do. Not that it matters. Pretty sure they do. It give you most play.
Yes, down.
Okay, thank you. Was pretty sure it was down. Okay. Let me grab the right one this time. I'm not sure when I started this upgrade process, but was it 3 hours ago?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we didn't run into too many snags. So if you're going to do the IGUS bearings, you're going to do that upgrade, you're pretty much doing exactly what I did. So it's probably going to be a good 3-hour upgrade as you do it.
September.
September? Yeah, it does seem like it was that long ago. All right, let me tighten these down. It's so funny how when you're doing all these upgrades and you're checking things, how many screws and bolts and nuts have all come loose over time. All right, let me check this extruder one more time. I just want to make sure that this... I still am worried about the thermistor, but it does look like it's seated properly. I mean, I don't think I can get any more of it in there, so I'm going to run with it. Oh, I think I screwed up putting that back on. What was that?
That was the umbrella coming out of the thing and flying over. And look, it knocked my painting and everything off the table.
Okay, so we just had an umbrella launch. I don't know if you saw it. Can you see that window back there? No. Yeah, you can. I don't know if you can replay, but that window right there, whew, an umbrella. Our umbrella from our deck furniture just picked up, the winds must be blowing, picked it up, threw it off the table, and smashed it against this window. All right, we almost had to do a couple more upgrades. All right, let me catch my breath there. Whew. All right, let me move this down, get this a little bit closer. All right, that was a wee bit nerve-wracking right there. Whew. I don't know if you heard that bang in the video, but hold on, let me check on that real quick, because that was is it? I'm assuming that everything's okay.
I don't know. I'm hoping that I didn't get paint all over that.
Sorry. Did it get screwed up? At least, well, it's oil, so you may be able to brush it off. You bringing it in?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, now well that happened. My wife started an oil painting, and that just happened to be outside too. She was doing it outside. And it took her canvas for oil painting and threw it across the deck with the umbrella. It's odd because there's no wind out there now. There's like not a breeze blowing.
No.
All right, let's get this back together. Nerves are shot now. All right. Scared the crap out of me.
You. As I see is everything going up and my no flying.
What the hell do we have a dog for? That dog didn't even bark. That could have been a burglar. I'm selling that dog.
You are not selling my dog. I'll sell you first.
I'm upgrading that dog. That's my next video. Dog upgrade.
Nice. Wow.
Okay, so let me just get 2 of these in, just to hold these. And I'm actually shaking.
Don't ask my oil paint. It was almost like Oz.
I know, it's like I'm looking for the Wicked Witch to be flying by on a broom. Alright, so now I'm going to have to take this back off because I put that back on and now I can't get to that screw. Maybe I can. This one screw is so hard to get to.
It looked like some of the dirt came off.
Oh, it did? So the painting saved?
I think. But then it's in the dark. So.
Okay. Let's get these on there.
That's good, Joe.
Did you just say God bless you to the dog that didn't protect us when the house was being smashed in? use a real screwdriver to tighten them up. All right, I'm gonna tighten these up.
Wait, didn't Bill bring over those ties?
Did he?
I could have swore I'd seen him bring over a whole bunch of ties.
Okay. Man, the cable management on this is not a great experience. Oh, okay. It's like that. It's pretty dang loose, but let's find the screw. Oh, the
What's it about?
I think when that thing smashed into the window, I jumped and the spring flew away.
No, it's right here.
Oh, it did fly away. Oh, good. Yeah.
Too expensive. I wonder if it like. It didn't want to get in the window.
Okay, let's tighten her down.
Looking good, man. Did you put the screw back on?
What screw? I don't know what screw he's talking about. Is he talking about the spring? Oh, he's talking about the bottom,
one
the
that
set
was on the
screw.
block, we were
Yeah. I
talking
put it
about-
on, but it doesn't seem to be able to go tight. It's the problem.
America. Remove
Shredded cheese, that's fine.
and for
I didn't see it, it's okay.
Okay. Oh shit. See if I can squeeze this through, because that probably isn't the best way of doing it. Huh, okay. All right. Slap this baby back in here. The nice part about all these upgrades is I didn't have to do anything with the frame. So I don't think my frame is actually, I don't think I unsquared my frame if I threw off my frame at all. Okay. Nice. That is smooth. I like that. I like that a lot. Alright, let's next thing is getting the bed back on and the belt back on. And we are done. Give myself some room here. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. That would not have been good. Now let's get this puppy back on there. Forgot about the stop switch. Oh, now the dog barks? Okay, where's the
Where's the what?
heater?
Here.
Oh, okay.
I moved that out of your room, remember, and I can go get, yeah, come on. What?
Oh my god. Threw me off. I forgot there was no belt on it. There was no. Alright. Now let's go up. And let's get this belt back, this plate back on. See, something's wrong here, so it looks like that. One of my, something must be off a little bit, but I can't see which one it is. Well, and this was out. Okay. Get this back in here. Come on. Okay. Right, so that shouldn't be that hard to get in and out.
You don't have screws in.
Is he saying I don't have the springs in?
I mean, that's what I was saying. You don't have springs in.
I know, I'm trying to make sure that the placement of these are right. See, these should flow, these should drop right into place, and the mere fact that this doesn't is telling me that one of these screws are off a little bit. Oh. All right, I got it close now. I think it's one of these. Something. You gonna make it over there?
Yeah.
Okay, that went in a little bit better. All right, let's run with that and see what happens. All right, so now it's time to put the springs back on. It's still a little tight. Perfect. This makes leveling so much easier. Okay, try it this way. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to tighten these down a little bit further than what they need to be, just so that when I level the bed for the first time, I have enough play. Because another upgrade that I did is I have a glass plate. So instead of printing on this surface with tape, I have a glass plate that I cut. And believe it or not, this glass plate is actually from a frame, a picture frame. So, and then all I do is when I'm done leveling, I just throw tape here, here, and here, and print right on the glass. And then when I'm done, I just take it up and wash it and do another print. Hairspray or glue works perfectly. This plate is actually 2.4 millimeters thick. I think the recommended thickness is 2.5 to 3. I have another glass one. So I have a spare just in case I jack that one up. But I think I'm done. I think just now all I have to do is put the belt back on and do a test print. So if you're watching this video and you have any questions, just throw them at the bottom of the video. And if you don't understand why I did something, I'll let you know. I'll reply and let you know. Or on the Facebook, on the A8 Facebook page, if you want to throw a question there. But for right now, I think I'm going to keep this belt tensioner on, and I'm going to keep this one on, and then I'm going to try the upgrades. If I find that the upgrades are still iffy, I may remove the belt tensioners and just go hand tight and see what happens. But I think I'm good for the upgrades right now. So I know it was long, I know it was boring, but hopefully if you logged in because you were looking for an answer to something, hopefully I answered it for you. So give me a holler. Let me know what you think, and if you're confused, and I will catch you later.